Welcome to Let's Talk Money, Honey, the podcast where we break down the barriers to financial success.
I'm Elise Levy here with Holly Henry, and we're your hosts, two financial advisors on a mission to demystify investing, unravel the complexities of money, and sprinkle a little wisdom into your life.
Whether you're a seasoned investor or just dipping your toes into the world of finance, join us once a month as we discuss how to navigate life's financial twists and turns. Just remember, building wealth and living your best life should be empowering, not intimidating.
So listen up and let's talk money, honey. Okay, we are back for another episode of Let's Talk Money, Honey, and we're continuing on our career series. So today we're talking about 1099s. So, Holly, what is that for people who have no idea what I'm talking about?
So we always kind of say if it's easy to do your taxes, then you're probably W-2. If you're 1099, it means you may work for someone, but you have a very independent schedule. And you're kind of doing your own thing. So kind of like the real estate agent, or now with the popular Airbnbs, like some of the housekeepers, welders, construction, and medical sales reps. I mean, it encompasses a huge group of people. And you would be surprised the amount of people that are 1099 that's out there.
Absolutely. And it's exactly what you said. It's like that contracting work, saying, you're going to do this for me for 3 months versus an actual employee who has benefits,
Mm-hmm.
paid hourly, all these different things. So, really, it's such an important topic because a lot more people than you realize actually are 1099s. So, these are financial topics specific to you guys. And the number one, is work with an accountant, please, for your
Mm-hmm.
own state of mind. Taxes are
Absolutely.
complicated enough.
Absolutely. And a lot of people that I talk to that do not work with an accountant, they do not want to pay the fee. Accountants are expensive and we 100% get that, but I feel like there are times that you're leaving money on the table because you don't know the tax loops. Either that or if you ever get audited, there could be red flags that the accountant could have helped you avoid. In my mind, they're worth every penny.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say that again. It's like working with an accountant is a value added expense.
Mhm.
And yes, you're paying, but I think it's so worth it. And you're really going to see the benefit long term, not just in terms of like maybe getting more money back, but just peace of mind if you ever
Yes.
get audited and knowing that you're doing it all appropriately. And it's like, we talk about building your lineup. I think as an independent contractor, small business owner, it's important to have these people on your side. So your accountant, your financial advisor, these are important people you need in your corner. And kind of going off of that, it's really important for 1099s to keep your business and personal expenses separate, especially if
Mhm.
you're like a married couple who files jointly. Keeping all of your stuff for business separate is so important when it comes to tax time because whether it's you or your accountant doing it, it's going to be well worth it to keep it organized. And keeping track of your expenses for your business so you can write them off. Another just really important tool. So I feel like organization is key here for these people.
Absolutely. And again, one of the reasons why we feel like you need to be working with an accountant too is here we are as financial advisors. One of the main difference between W-2s and 1099s is typically there's benefits within the W-2 and there is an employer sponsor retirement plan. For 1099s, it's completely up to you to start planning for your retirement. And if you're paying a lot of money in, then your accountant can help suggest which type of retirement plan fits best for you because there are different type of retirement plans. And I will say the majority of my clients, they're 1099, they're younger people that are having to make these decisions. And I do want to stress, no matter what age you are, you better have a retirement plan. A lot of these positions they're hard positions, like the construction workers, the welders. Do you really want to be doing this when you're 65, 70 years old? I mean, in most cases, even housekeeping, oh my gosh, that is hard work. I've tried to do that lately for my Airbnbs, and my body's sitting here saying, you're not in your 20s anymore. Like you need to give it up and go back to your desk job. And so it is so important to start planning for one, if you can't do these jobs, but two, also for retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just dive in and kind of talk about that. And I think, you know, the saving for retirement, it's win-win. And like the first win is what Holly's talking about, is actually having money to retire when you want to retire. And the second win is lowering your taxable income. So
Mhm.
by contributing to these accounts, dependent, this is a broad statement, but if you're doing something that lowers your taxable income, that means you will owe less taxes. So that's a huge benefit as well. So the first one we're going to talk about is the SEP IRA. And how that works is you can contribute up to 25% of your earned 1099 income. So if you're a person who maybe is also a W 2 on top of your 1099, you're looking at just your 1099 income for this. And it's important to make that distinction. And then it's 25% up to 70 grand a year. And that's the 2025 number. Um, and this is going to go in and it's going to lower your taxable income and then it's going to grow tax deferred. So when you pull out money in retirement, you will pay at your income tax level, but the growth in between is tax deferred.
Mhm. And I do want to say all my SEP IRA clients, they will come to me and say, my accountant told me to put in this much. Again,
Yes,
so important to work with your accountant because we're not going to look at your 1099 and say, this is how much you need to be putting in. That is an accountant decision, even though we can look at it and say, this is there's factors that need to be taken into consideration when you look at your taxes in a whole. So it is key that your accountant is in line with what you want to do.
100%. Couldn't agree more, Holly. And so let's maybe talk about if the SEP IRA is not something they're doing, what are their other options?
So you have a traditional IRA or even a Roth IRA, and this is basically just very, very simple. And you can contribute up to 7,000 a year. There are catch-up contributions if you're 50 or older. Um, these are easy peasy. And again, I just feel like these are great if you're only wanting to do up to the 7,000. These traditional IRAs, if you're owing on taxes and you don't want to do the SEP IRA, these are key. They're very low maintenance. They can be very low maintenance on fees. Very easy to set up. Again, like I just feel like these are necessary. And even with the Roth IRA, I always say that these are very good to supplement any other retirement plan that you may have.
100%. And I think they are a little bit simpler than the SEP. So if you're a young person listening to this and you're just starting out and you just want to do 50 bucks a month, 100 bucks a month, these are great options for
Mhm.
you because you'll be with under that yearly limit, but you'll still be saving for retirement. And it really is super simple.
Mhm.
And for both the Roth and the IRA, you have until you file for taxes to make that contribution. So, like this year, 2025, you're filing 2024 taxes. You can make 2024 contributions up to that filing date. And as we know, the Roth has many rules. So we have a whole video on Roths. Check it out because we're not going to go into the weeds right now. But no, there are income limits and certain rules established with it. So if you're going in that direction, reach out and make sure you're informed that it's right for you. Let's take a step back, Holly, and talk about, well, let's move on and maybe talk about non retirement accounts as well
Mhm.
before we leave retirement.
Yeah, I think it is very important for 1099s to start thinking about retirement or non-retirement accounts just because so many of them are very physical jobs. And they do not want to wait till they're 59 and a half, or they may not can wait till they're 59 and a half to retire. And so you really got to figure out a way to bridge that gap. And I'll say over and over again, it is so important for 1099s to really start putting money back. Don't spend every penny that you receive. And a good way to invest some of that money is just in a plain non-retirement account. And we walk you through it. We can add tax efficiency models to it so you're not getting highly taxed on it. It's something that we just recommend if you were a high earner to 99.
Yeah, 100%. So, taking a step back, I think we should just touch on taxes. Obviously, neither of us are accountants, so take this and still talk to an accountant, a professional.
Mhm.
But save about 20 to 30% of your income for taxes. Having it set aside makes it a lot easier when you go to make payments because you're not having to dip into your emergency fund or
Mhm.
other cash funds you have set aside for other reasons. And do quarterly payments. It helps you stay on track. It helps you not have a massive tax bill every year, and it's just easier to maintain. And then again, I don't know if I've said this, but they should work with an accountant.
Yeah, I don't think you have, but it never hurts for us. I mean, again, it truly, it's so true because the quarterly payments, your accountant will tell you how much you need to be paying. And we've got to remember that most 1099s, they're paid a little bit extra than most W-2s because of the taxes that you're going to end up having to pay. And so definitely, we're going to say it one more time, maybe more than this, work with an accountant.
And I think, we're kind of tiptoeing around it, but I think it's important to talk about emergency funds for these people as well, because some 1099s are paid, consistently and have, a monthly paycheck, but a lot don't. We have photographers, artists, and they're getting a really big paycheck one month and maybe a really small paycheck the next. So I think for those people, emergency funds are going to be critical. And, I can't say that enough. Holly, what would you recommend for someone who maybe is in that variable pay structure? How would
Mhm.
they build their emergency fund or what it would look like, maybe different from someone else?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's going to be different even for like budgeting.
Yeah.
Because, and I even think of like construction workers. If you're a 1099, if you've got bad weather, you may be out for a week or two. So you're not looking at like a weekly basis or a monthly basis. You're looking like on average over a few months, maybe 3 months, 4 months. And as we talk about emergency funds, I really feel like it goes hand in hand with like having to budget. And you hear us say a lot, don't take on extra debt, and that's even more so important for 1099s whose pay is not steady. You don't want a ton of payments that you have to owe on every month, and we don't know how much money you're going to get. And so, again, you just kind of want to take the average of this and be sure if you're a single individual, you got 6 months worth of income set back for you. If you're living off of dual income, that you've got 3 months set back, and just in case an emergency happens.
100%. And like maybe you pick a percentage, and so we know you're putting aside 25% for taxes. Maybe each paycheck you put aside 5% for that emergency fund or whatever that number is for you. But that's like what Holly said too. It's like budgeting is really important. And just because it's inconsistent doesn't mean you shouldn't have a
Hmm.
budget. And I think actually it's probably more important for those people who it is inconsistent.
Absolutely.
So the last thing we want to touch on is being properly insured because as we've been saying, this type of work can fluctuate. And so one day you have work, one day you don't. And so insurance is going to be so important. Holly, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think depending on what you do, look into disability insurance. Um, make sure your vehicle is properly insured because in a lot of situations, if you have an accident and you're driving for business, your personal insurance won't cover it. So you need to make sure you have commercial insurance. These ins and the outs that aren't always discussed, make sure when you're talking to an insurance agent that they know exactly what your career is and that you are properly insured. And it's never fun to think about worst case scenarios, but I'd rather you think about it and have a plan than it happen and we don't know what to do now.
Yeah, absolutely. So making sure like your home, your auto, and your health insurance is covered. And then it may be even appropriate to look into life insurance,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a term policy or something like that, if you are in a family or have a spouse and you worry about that. So again, those are things to obviously bring to us and have discussions about and find out what's right for you because we can't make any too broad of statements on what a certain person needs.
Absolutely.
So, Holly, anything else as we wrap up our 1099 contractors?
No, I just do feel like, again, we don't ever say this too much, but I'm going to say it again. One, you're going to work with an accountant. And two, we're going to always remind you that we offer free consultations. So if you're not sure that you're saving enough for retirement, if you want to know what our options are as far as even just contributing monthly, what type of retirement plan looks best for you, contact us. We're happy to discuss it with you.
Absolutely. And remember, we have plenty of other videos on great topics on our YouTube channel, so make sure to check that out. And then we always have our monthly newsletter that you can subscribe to as well, which has some great written content you get once a month. So thanks for listening.